Welcome, everyone. Hopefully, you've gotten past the welcome message from GoTo. If not, you'll join in a second. But welcome. Thank you for registering and for joining today's webinar on Inside the DLC Premium classification, where we'll be talking about benefits for utilities and guidance for manufacturers. I'm going to take just a minute here to let the rest of folks join in before we get started. So if you haven't already, got some water and take a seat. Thank you. All right, we've got a good number of folks joined now. So thanks again for joining. This is the webinar on DLC Premium. Uh, I'm one of your speakers today, and I'll go ahead and get us started here. So first things first, we'll go through some housekeeping and welcome. Just so you know, right off the bat, slides and a recording of today's webinar will be posted on the DLC News and Events page on our website shortly after today's presentation, most likely within the next 24 hours. You are all automatically muted. Nothing personal at all about it. We definitely want to hear from you. And we do have the questions pane. If you're not familiar, you'll see the little question bar or question icon in your GoToWebinar interface. That's where you can go ahead and enter your questions at. We'll have a couple folks keeping an eye on those throughout and answering things live. Will be at the end of today's webinar, where we'll have a few minutes at the end to answer your questions. And if we don't have time to answer your questions today, we'll definitely be following up with you. So either way, thank you for attending today. Thanks for listening, learning, and asking your questions. And if you're not sure who we are, just a brief introduction here. This is the DLC, or Design Lights Consortium, an initiative from an Efficiency Forward, and we're an independent nonprofit organization providing decision makers with data and resources on quality lighting, controls, and integrated building systems with the goal of reducing energy, carbon, and light pollution. So thank you for all your input over the years. Help us get where we're at today. We definitely wouldn't be a consortium without all of you. And we wouldn't be putting on a webinar talking about DLC Premium without you either. So thank you for your input over the years. We definitely look forward to staying in touch with you. And now, to keep things moving forward, today's presenters are myself, Senior Technical Manager. I write the technical requirements and do application reviews for the horticulture program, as well as our SSL program. We have Aaron Feldman, our Associate Director of Operations, and Andrew Antares, our Project Manager of Technical Development and Product Integrity. Aaron will be presenting some slides a little bit later in the webinar. Andrew's going to be working on the back end, looking at the questions that come in the question pane and chat, helping with that type of stuff, and then really making sure the show runs smoothly for us towards the end. So thanks to both of you, and stay tuned to hear from Aaron later on the application guidance portion of today's webinar. So that brings me to the agenda. We already did the welcome and logistics. You know we're here to talk about DLC Premium. I will take the next few slides where I'll go through the rationale for and evolution of the DLC Premium since its inception. And then after that, I'll hand it over to Aaron Feldman, who will be talking us through guidance for qualifying products to DLC Premium, what it takes in terms of actually demonstrating compliance to these DLC Premium technical requirements and making sure that your application process is as smooth as possible. Then I'll take a couple minutes right at the end of that where Aaron will pass it back. I'll give a shout out and let you know about our 2026 DLC Summit coming later this year. And then we'll have some time at the end for questions and answers. But again, feel free at any time to put those questions into the questions pane, and we'll either have it set up for answering live or get you an answer as soon as we can. All right, so what we're all here for, right? Digging into DLC Premium, rationale and evolution. So first thing first I wanted to do is make sure, if you're not already familiar with DLC Premium, that I give you a bit of a background on what it is. So what is DLC Premium? DLC Premium really is a higher performance classification for eligible products that are already eligible to DLC standard, but they take those same technical requirements, build on them, either have additional or different thresholds in terms of efficacy or color maintenance, et cetera, things like that, and enabling these products that perform or achieve higher energy savings while delivering light quality and controllability performance that exceed those DLC standard requirements to be differentiated. And that's a perfect segue into why DLC Premium was first conceptualized, right? So back before our version 3.0 technical requirements, the DLC standard classification was the end-all be-all for listing products to the SSL design, the SSL qualified products list. That first step of the SSL DLC standard classification enabled utilities and industry at large to really become more comfortable with the performance of LEDs, understanding that they can trust them to save energy and do much more than that, and really started to kind of better ask better questions around, okay, some of these are actually performing above and beyond DLC standard, and how can we really identify and differentiate those and offer an increased incentive so that these products that save more energy and have better lifetime performance for either the driver, which is the most failure prone, or one of the most failure prone subcomponents in a luminaire generally, or the LEDs, and making sure that that first 10% of light loss over the course of the product's life is lasting as long as possible. That's where our Q90 requirement, or sorry, L90 requirements come from, our driver lifetime requirements, and making sure that we're coupling those longer term persistent savings requirements with a right off the bat initial lumen per watt delta over DLC standard. So version 3 really focused on that higher efficacy at the luminaire level, longer term savings by having driver lifetime and testing requirements and additional lumen maintenance requirements, and kind of package those things up to create this DLC Premium requirements classification, which products then may have to do additional testing to. Aaron will be speaking much more about that in the qualification portion of today's webinar. And then once they demonstrate that compliance, they get listed to the qualified products list with this DLC Premium logo, and classifications go on marketing materials, spec sheets, and miscellaneous other things to really show that your products are some of the best in class. From there, our technical requirements evolved many times over the years through 2020, where we had worked through 4.0 through 4.4, which is why it's shown as 4.x on this slide. And throughout the course of those revisions, we incorporated things like new product pathways for field adjustable product types, DC powered product types. We introduced the things like allowances for better performance where there are known trade-offs with energy efficiency or efficacy at the luminaire level. For example, products that have improved color rendition or lower CCTs had allowances that enabled them to still have the bar where appropriate for that product type, making sure that it's enabling greater quality also. In Premium, through the input of our stakeholders, was able to maintain that distinction over our DLC standard requirements while introducing all of these revisions through 2020. And that led us into 2020, at the very end of 2020, where we introduced the version 5 and version 5.1 technical requirement pathways, which really expanded our technical requirements from having a high focus on energy efficiency to beyond efficacy, right? Including things like quality of light, where we're considering aspects such as, does this provide better color rendition? Does this have longer term color maintenance? Does it have less glare? We looked into topics like flicker, didn't end up having requirements for them based on industry input, but there's a huge expansion beyond energy efficiency into this quality realm, ensuring that products that do make it to our qualified products list and get incentives are going to make sure your customers are satisfied, right? Premium really focused in on quality in certain aspects like chromaticity, where generally there are standardized color spaces where there can be a variety of subtle differences in color, but still generally be considered the same color temperature. So a 3000K product may appear warmer or cooler depending on where you're at in that color space. The premium chromaticity requirement really looks at focusing that in from a 7-step to a 4-step quadrangle, limiting the amount of differences that there can be between one manufacturer's product lines to be premium eligible, but also across manufacturers. And beyond efficacy and quality, there was a focus on controllability. This really focused in on things like understanding those controllability capabilities and looking at the dimming capability in particular. And so through 2026, right, we had done a lot with efficacy. We started taking big steps in quality and controllability, and that really brought us to where we are today. And where we are today is somewhere in between the transition from version 5.1 to version 6.0, with our version 6 technical requirements being released last year and products beginning to be qualified to these technical requirements this year. We're making good progress. Today, there's over 45,000 products that's already qualified to version 6 and really help utilities answer the question that they have today, right? Today, utilities aren't asking whether LED lighting delivers these savings, right? They're really focused much more on what's that next generation, right? What's the next opportunity for energy savings? How is it supported by controls in particular? And better understanding how these lighting controls capabilities really deepen energy savings. Whereas DLC standard still continues to establish a trusted foundation for all products. It still has those quality criterion. A lot of the aspects that are in premium also get considered for standard, but not with the same requirement thresholds. So let's quickly review some of the premium requirements that are in place today and understand how premium enables deeper energy savings. So as I mentioned before, in version 3, the premium efficacy threshold was set at a higher bar than the DLC standard threshold, ensuring that right off the bat, you get the higher energy efficient or energy savings from an increased and improved luminaire level efficacy. Today, that's still in place. Version 6 maintains that efficacy delta over DLC standard, ensuring that the baseline savings that you get from a DLC qualified product that's being incentivized and replacing an older product or even a DLC standard product is there, right? And in addition to that, it really focuses in, version 6 premium really focuses in on the controls aspects, ensuring that beyond that instant efficacy increase that you get from the lumens per watt delta, that these products are either controls ready, which would be category 1 in our controls category schema, or somewhere all the way up to a product that's luminaire level lighting controls, or having that network lighting controls qualified controller and 2 or more integral sensor functions. The only controls category that is not eligible for DLC premium, but is eligible for DLC standard are products that would fit into controls category 0 or have no integral controls, right? So all of these products from category 1 through 6 are understood to either be ready to include integral controls in the future, a receptacle that's on the product and fits with known savings functionalities and integral sensors that enable these deeper energy savings, right? From things like occupancy sensing all the way up to the LLLC, right? And so the question really becomes, how do these controls categories help me, right, as a utility? How do I know what to do with these things? And that's where Jason and others here at the DLC worked really hard to dig into technical resource manuals, understand those control-specific savings factors, whether they come from something like occupancy sensing or all the way up to that luminaire level lighting controls, where it's much more sophisticated. And you can see in this chart here how these control savings factors in the vertical bars associate with increased energy savings somewhere between 20 and 77% as you work your way from left to right on the graph. And you'll see that each of these different control savings factors maps back very well to a controls category. So maybe some questions that you're asking yourself here are, okay, we see controls category 3 through 6 map to these control savings factors, but we're not really seeing controls category 1 or controls category 2, and those are DLC premium eligible. So I wanted to point that out and make sure you understand DLC premium does open the door up for controls category 1, even though it may not be capable right out of the box of realizing these deeper energy savings, but it is ready, right? It's essentially that first step in making sure that you're future-proofing the installed product base so that it's capable of realizing these controls capabilities in the future and actually getting those additional savings down the road if you're able to get the end user to actually put something into that receptacle or to work it with a network lighting controller. Also, controls category 2 is a product that does have a network lighting controller, but we're not familiar with it, right? That NLC controller is not qualified to our NLC QPL. We haven't reviewed it, so its performance isn't validated, but it's generally understood to have that opportunity associated with it. So it may be capable of aligning with the fifth column you see here, or the NLC column, associated with category 5. But because it's not validated, we don't have specific control savings that we're associating it with, such as these here, where controls categories 3 through 6, all premium eligible, are very well understood to increase the savings associated specifically from these controls factors. So I know I went over this all pretty quickly, but we do have additional webinars out there where we dive in much more depth to these controls categories and various other topics that we baked into version 6 and that are part of version 6.0 DLC Premium classification as well. So make sure that you're tuning into those. In particular, I recommend the controls categories webinar, as it is kind of the crux and the main points of version 6 and the changes that we did. They align very well with the conversations that we'll have at the summit later this year. And there is a QR code up at the top right. So thank you in advance for registering, staying in touch, letting us know if there's other topics you want us to cover, and for listening to me talk about the history of DLC Premium and how it got to where it is today. So thank you. And with that, I'll go ahead and hand the mic over to Aaron Feldman. I don't know if it's just me. I'm not hearing you, Aaron.
No, it's not just you, Casey. I also can't hear Aaron. Well, Aaron's microphone was certainly working when we tested it right before the webinar. So this is just go to testing our resolve.
Yes. Can you all hear me okay now?
Perfect.
Okay, excellent. So I'll be going through today the application guidance for how to submit for DLC Premium. As Casey started to mention some of the reasons why you would want to qualify to Premium. In particular, you could help your product stand out for enhanced quality, performance, and controllability. And it will give manufacturers access to greater energy efficiency incentives. These incentives are varied across the country. So some regions require DLC premium for incentives. Others, and primarily nationwide, have some greater incentive for premium compared to DLC standard, where other programs just have a DLC standard incentive. So qualifying products to premium would help ensure that your products are eligible for the highest incentives nationwide. So now that you have some understanding on why to qualify to premium, I'll go through what and where you can find those requirements, and then go through how they affect your model numbers for DLC submission, also the submission steps for how to submit to premium, and the documentation. Also go through a quick some stumbling blocks that we've seen for these types of submissions. So where can you find these DLC premium requirements? Within the technical requirements, there is now a dedicated section for the premium requirements. In the past, in older versions of the technical requirements, they were grouped by topic, but in version 6, it's grouped by its own classification. So you can see that in that dedicated part of the technical requirements. And this is broken up into essentially 3 sections. There's eligibility, and then there is a discussion on the more stringent or new performance thresholds as compared to DLC standard. And then lastly, but not least, is controllability for DLC premium. To touch on eligibility, you can see on the slide here, there's the products that are eligible and those that are ineligible. So eligible for premium, and this is outside of any other requirements for certain metrics, just noting as a highest level the product types that are eligible for premium. So you have luminaires shown here through a wall pack, a troffer, high bay, and a more linear strip style fixture. Ineligible for premium are lamps. Lamps are ineligible for premium. Certain retrofit kits, those are the certain troffer retrofit kits. Amber products, as well as specialty primary use designations. That pole-mounted outdoor fixture has a nice amber hue on it. While that is maybe applicable for the amber use cases, is not eligible for premium, while if it didn't have the amber component, it would be eligible for premium. And to give a very high level of the different metrics that are associated with premium, these are the ones that have an increased threshold compared to DLC standard. Table 21 of the technical requirements has those specific details. And thank you, Lauren, for putting that in the chat for anyone to reference. The technical requirements can be found there. For the top 3, we have efficacy, chromaticity, and lumen maintenance. The threshold for those metrics is more stringent than that of DLC standard. Then we have discomfort, glare, and driver lifetime. And those are only applicable for DLC premium, so there's no DLC standard requirement for those metrics. They were also required for premium under 5.1 for those familiar with the program. And then last but not least is controllability. I'm saving controllability last here because we'll be focusing on that in the next couple of slides the most. And there are significant updates to controllability under version 6, as Casey mentioned, and in particular for the premium designation. So we'll be going through that next slides. And then a quick application tip before we go through more of the requirements. I'll be focusing on the submission in the next few slides, but I wanted to highlight that products that are qualifying to premium must meet premium for all of their options. So any option that's within the model number and is qualifying to DLC premium must meet the premium requirements. This may require some separation of products that were previously listed under 5.1 into two different products, one to qualify as standard and one to qualify as premium. And I'll go through that in the next few slides. And just jumping back to the requirements here, this is the small note on controllability. It has two sub-bullets, but they mean a lot. So we got the first one of being capable of continuously dimming to 10% of initial output or lower, relatively straightforward. And then the second bullet here is that it must meet controls categories excluding category 0. So Casey mentioned earlier, these control categories are new for version 6 and designate a higher level of controllability. So what does that mean? Like Casey was showing earlier, everything except for category 0 can be qualified for premium. So that is 1 through 6. Category 0 is having no controls, no internal controls. So if your product is only dimmable, that would be category 0. And then the 1 through 6 have some greater controllability functionality. I won't be going through all of those here, but we will be sharing the slides after the presentation and for reference. And there is a table in the technical requirements that details out each category and the definition for that category. So we have these new categories and control designations. To get that sort of information, there's two pathways. The first is a brand level. So that's for manufacturers that have a shared designation or model number structure for your controls. If occupancy is always the same sort of characters in your model number, you can get those controls qualified through a brand level pathway. If you're interested in that sort of pathway, you can email controls@designlights.org for more information. Today, we'll be focusing on the family level pathway, where it's on a family of products. Commonly, you have some shared designation for the controls within that family. So to submit that family, you will have your application Excel form. And I'll apologize ahead of time. I'll be sharing some screenshots of Excel, which I know is not the most exciting on a Tuesday afternoon, but I'll try to keep it as interesting as possible. And so on the application Excel form, you'll include your model number, and then the controls options codes that are included within that model number. So you can see here the model number is R and D, and then it has an A and B. In this case, the A and B are those control options for this product. And then you have control options codes, A and B, where we detail out, you'll detail out the controllability and functionality of those control option codes. So the manufacturer indicates which control option codes are available with which model number, and then the specific controllability and capabilities of those codes here. So you can see controls option code A has a Bluetooth NFC functionality, while controls option code B is just 0 to 10 volt dimming. These control option codes will be assigned a controls options category automatically by DLC. So based on the definition of each category, each controls options code gets assigned a category, depending on its capabilities. And noting that only models that include control option codes that meet premium requirements can be listed as premium. So we'll be going through that in these slides here. So I'll be going through a couple different examples to explain how you can manufacturers can submit fixtures with their control option codes. So this first example here is a round fixture. It has a single striper, 3 CCT options, 1 CRI, and 1 lens option. It's a round high bay and continuously dimmable. Relatively simple and would be listed as DLC standard. Because it is control category 0, there's no other integral controls, no sensors, no NLC, so it is not eligible for premium. And then to submit this product, you would include the variations of your model number here. So we have 3 different model numbers, each referring to a different CCT in this case. In this case, there isn't anything in particular to denote the controls for this fixture. So the controls options code is just blank. And you would put that for the reported performance table tab. And then to describe the capabilities of essentially the default orderable configuration, you would include blank for the controls options code and then detail out the functionality that comes standard for the product. This next example, similar to the previous, has the exact same nomenclature. But in this case, it has a sensor port. You can see by that black circle right in the center. For DLC version 6, sensor receptacles are denoted as controls category 1 or controls ready. But it is worth noting that NEMA 3-pin receptacles are not eligible for DLC standard or premium. So in this case, the sensor port would not be a NEMA 3-pin because it's not eligible. But for this product, it is always on the fixture, so that's category 1 and can be premium. As to how to submit this family, you have your 3 products similar as the last one, classification as premium in this case. Since the sensor port is always present and there isn't a designation within the model number for that, we have a blank here, but you can see in the controls options table tab that the blank refers to a 3.5 millimeter phono jack for this sensor port. We've got 2 more examples, so thanks for bearing with me as we get increasing in complexity. So stay on the edge of your seats. Here we're just adding an occupancy sensor. So you can see on the farthest right of this model number structure, there's a blank or OCC option. So it's the same fixture as previously, but there's an optional sensor that you can add within the model number. So in this scenario, there will be some products within that family that will need to be listed as standard and some as premium if desired to get some products as premium. The products without the occupancy sensor could be listed as standard, and the products with the occupancy sensor would be listed as premium. So that'd be category 0 and 3A for occupancy. On the bottom of this slide is a model number structure that would not be eligible for premium. Previously under 5.1, this would be eligible, but within version 6, there are the additional controls requirements, which would require that single model to be listed separately, one for standard and one for premium. And how you would submit that is within your application form. There'd be a set of 3 for standard and a set of 3 for premium for your different CCTs, and then your different controls, being no controls and your occupancy sensor. And then to detail out the capabilities of those controls, you'd have a blank for the default, and then OCC for your occupancy version. And then lastly, our luminaire here has gotten some major upgrades. So it has both 0 to 10 volt dimming and Dolly 2. It also has either no controls or an occupancy sensor, or this easy light network lighting control system. I've heard it does great things. So if we were to map out this in the application Excel form, you would see here there'd be 6 total products, 3 standard, 3 premium, to indicate the options that are eligible for premium standard. So you have the no controls as your standard, and then either your occupancy or your easy light for your premium here under model number. Under controls options code, it is broken out as well by driver, because the driver communication is an important feature of controllability of a product. And so we are designating that differently on the QPL. So under controls options code, you can see there is a separation for the 0 to 10 volt as A, for the Dolly 2 as B for the different models. And then for the premium models, it also has the OCC and easy light options. And I'll go through that a little bit more in the next slide here. So that top slide is, or top screenshot is showing the model numbers as well. And then the bottom screenshot is the control option code that are available for this model, these models. So you have the different drivers by A and B on the far left of those control options codes. And then we have 2 for blank, and the capability shown for those, as well as the OCC and the easy light. And the various capabilities for those different options within the model number. When manufacturers are submitting applications, in particular for version 6 applications, detailed information is needed on the controls capabilities. So if there is a product where there's a model number structure where controls could be XXX, where XXX could mean any sensor or controller. It just depends on what the customer wants. While that is great for flexibility, for DLC qualification, we do need some understanding of the different options in order to qualify them to the QPL. So specific characters are needed for each controls option. So to detail out the capabilities and ensure products are appropriately listed to standard and premium. So where does all this information go once you get these controls submitted and products qualified to premium? QPL, of course. And coming soon. So if you go to the QPL today, you may see this banner that says QPL improvements coming soon. I'll be going through a couple early previews of those improvements and updates. In particular, for specific models, when you're searching them, they show up on the QPL in the list with the control option codes and the controls options category that's associated with those codes. So in this example, the controls options codes S1 and S2 correspond to the controls category 3A, 1, and 1 as well. When you open up a product, you'll be able to see the controls option code as well as the details and capabilities for that code. Then a note on the version 6 timeline. As Casey mentioned, we're in the midst of the transition from version 5.1 to version 6. And we are right here on June 16th, getting close to the June 30th date, where the deadline to submit updates for current version 5.1, SSL version 5.1, and Luna version 1.0 products. So those applications are applications to update those types of products and keep them under 5.1 and Luna version 1.0. The deadline to update them to version 6 is October 9th. There is potential benefit to updating your 5.1 products to then update to version 6. And I'll talk about that in the next slide. But please pay attention, June 30th as the last date to update version 5.1 products and keep them as version 5.1, and October 9th to submit products to update to version 6. Quickly to note on the different ways to update products, if you've participated in any of the other webinars, you may have seen some similar notes, but there is a simplified application to update your products. That's for products that have not changed since their last qualification, and those products meet the version 6 requirements based on the current data on the QPL. There's more conventional updates where you have changed your manufacturers have changed their products since qualification, or that they don't meet version 6 if you get updated. So there's the two general update types. And then for this time and age in particular, there is a version 5.1 update and then simplified. So if you have products where your data may not be accurate, it has been a number of years since we've had a technical requirement change, and products sometimes get updated. And if you have, if the manufacturer has products that have been updated, you can update the products under version 5.1 and then use a simplified pathway. That may be simpler because the simplified pathway has no testing requirements. If you have any questions on this, you can reach out to applications@designlabs.org or send a note in the chat. And that deadline for those 5.1 updates and staying as 5.1 is June 30th. Lastly, some resources. So we have a manufacturer and industry guidance document to help with the transition. Also a note on some common application issues that we've seen. And if you have any questions on this information, I know it was a lot of information, examples, and maybe the examples do not exactly apply to how your products are structured. You can schedule some time in open office hours that we have available, as well as emailing applications@designlabs.org. Lastly, we have created some videos to help you through the process. Two examples are here, and from that page you can browse and search through others. And thanks again for Lauren for blowing up the chat with all those links. And with that, I'll pass it off back to Casey. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Aaron. All right, so now we've gone through the inception and evolution of the DLC Premium program, how it got to be what it is today, what those requirements are, and how to demonstrate compliance through our DLC Premium application process. And before we move into Q&A, I just wanted to take a minute here to shout out our summit later this year. Our summit later this year is focused on the next generation of lighting coming from or associated with those controls, right? And realizing those next generation of energy savings, specifically from controls, integration, and also focusing on the environment. This is going to be at the end of October in Los Angeles, California. And we wouldn't have been able to host the summit without our hosts. So a big thank you to the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, who is a newer DLC member and enabling us to have this summit in Los Angeles. Without them, we wouldn't be able to have it in LA for sure, and we wouldn't be able to have it at all without y'all. So make sure you check it out if you haven't already heard of it, and register so that you're able to partake in these conversations. The event will be taking place at the California Endowment Center, where we currently have a room block for $174 a night, which is over 50% discount on the normal room rate. So make sure you check it out and take advantage of that room block before it expires in a couple of months, and get yourself a place close to the California Endowment Center and at an affordable rate at the Doubletree in downtown LA. But why would you want to attend besides going to LA, right? Get a couple days in California to learn from our expert panelists. We're going to be putting together a bunch of panels with utilities, manufacturers, and other industry experts who are really going to be sharing the word on that next generation of energy savings coming from controls and integration, and focus on the environment. You're going to be able to bring your insights, make sure your company direction, goals are considered and part of that conversation, hearing and learning from what others in the industry are saying, and how this is really going to help us solve program evolutions in terms of energy incentive programs, how it takes into consider controls and those additional energy savings opportunities from controls and integration to really support and enable a transition to that next generation of advanced lighting solutions. And you'll be able to network, right? So you'll make great colleagues and people who can help you with your work and who you can help, and hopefully we'll all be able to move the industry forward at the summit. So thank you in advance for attending. And just for a little bit of heads up on it, the first day will be starting in the afternoon, mid-afternoon, and we'll be focusing on getting ready for the next day, right? Understanding those energy efficiency programs challenges today, familiarizing ourselves with nomenclature and terminology so that all the things we talk about in the second day's sessions are already familiar with you, and you're able to really provide great input on those conversations and understand what we're there to talk about, those summit themes. After that, there'll be a tour and mixer at the La Cretz Innovation Campus, where you'll be able to continue those conversations with the folks you've already met in that first session there that I was talking about, and really help kind of break the ice, right? So that way, whenever we go into day two, we're able to have great conversations, you're familiar with each other, you know you're all there working on the same thing and have the same goals. So day two will begin after that, and we'll be focusing on scaling advanced controls and how that enables next-gen lighting savings, things like integrating lighting and HVAC for those greater and whole building energy efficiency opportunities and energy savings, capturing those controls and technical resource manuals for the next-gen savings at the utility level, and in concurrent with that capture and control session, a session on aligning energy savings and environmental responsibility by focusing on lighting controls and light pollution. And then in the afternoon, we're going to move from these conversations into how this relates back to market realities, challenges and new opportunities that utility programs and their lighting programs are facing and have the opportunity to support moving forward, again, focused on controls, integration, and the environment. So thank you in advance for attending. We want to make sure you're there. So if you have any questions, definitely reach out to us. We're happy to have a conversation with you and help you understand more about the summit, what's going to be going on there, how you can get involved, including things like sponsorship opportunities, where you can make sure that you're demonstrating how your brand aligns with the next generation of energy savings and the lighting market's evolution to support these controlled or advanced controls lighting solutions. Thank you in advance if you've already signed up to register or to be a sponsor. We definitely look forward to having you there. And with that, I'll wrap it up and move us into Q&A. So thank you.
Thank you, Casey and Aaron. That was great. We do have some questions. Thank you for sending those through, everyone. But you can still continue to send them as we move through this. Before we get to all these specific questions, I just want to answer one general question for everyone that yes, we will be posting both the slides and the recording, usually within 24 hours. So you can look for those if you want to go back and revisit anything. All right, so we'll kick things off here with a question that is sort of not specific to just premium applications, but applications in general. And I think it's good for everyone to hear. So looking to clarify the deadline for this simplified application this month. So specifically, what if an application is started but not submitted? Maybe you can take that one, Aaron.
Yeah. Casey, do you mind flipping back to the timeline slide?
No problem.
Perfect. Thank you. So the question was if they submit a simplified update application and the application extends beyond the deadline, what would happen? So applications for version 6, simplified and conventional, anything to update from 5.1 to 6.0 is October 9th, and that's to give time for reviewers to process those applications before the December 15th deadline. So the intention and optimistic hope is that an application submitted on October 9th has all the necessary information to update those products to version 6, and that by December 15th they are already updated. If there's more information that's needed or test reports and the application goes beyond December 15th, the products will get delisted, but then will be relisted once the application is completed.
Thank you, Aaron. Very thorough. Just to remind, always feel free to follow up with questions if they have questions about their application timeline. All right, so we've got a question. I think you can take this, Casey. Someone wondering why Amber is not eligible for premium.
Yeah, good question. So just before I answer that, first to note, it's not just Amber, but it's any non-white light product. So we do also have fully color tunable products, right, where they could, go to some monochromatic spectral output, and those are also not eligible for DLC premium. So anything that really goes into this new area in version 6, right, where we're kind of newly establishing technical requirements like Amber, or considering things like, okay, this product can go well outside of our standardized white chromaticity spaces, and we're not as familiar yet. Programs, as these are newer products, programs also don't have pathways for these established yet. So, and I think that's primarily the reason why these things are not having a premium pathway today, right? We're just opening the door to them. We're becoming more familiar. This is really like that standard setting first, making sure that we're enabling a majority of the better performing segment of the market in these product spaces to participate. And then as we better understand them over the years, maybe there'll be a premium pathway in the future, but there isn't today. So thank you.
Thanks, Casey. We've got a few minutes left here, so we'll try to get through some questions on controls. Obviously, so the controls requirements are very new to SSL and premium specifically. So we have a question: a fixture with a BLE driver and a socket to add a sensor later, will that qualify for category 6? So category 6 being the LLC category. So it has a BLE driver and a receptacle for a sensor to be added later.
Yeah, I can answer that. So for products qualifying to the QPL, we're qualifying what the product is itself, and so not any sort of the potential capabilities. So a product that has a BLE driver and a socket would have the capabilities noted as a sensor receptacle, which is the socket, and the BLE driver. If also to note that socket cannot be a NEMA 3-pin receptacle, because that is not eligible under version 6.
Right. Yeah. So just to add to that, it wouldn't be category 6 for sure, unless it's also with a network lighting controller that's listed to our NLC QPL and has those 2 or more integral sensor functions. So if it's just a receptacle and a driver that could have a controller with it in the future, like Aaron was saying, that would be controls ready or category 1, as long as it's an eligible receptacle type. If it's that NEMA 3-pin twist lock receptacle, it would not be eligible.
Thank you, Casey. Another question on controls. Does the daylight harvesting function need to be default enabled, or can it be enabled on-site through the app? And so maybe this is a pretty nuanced question, so I think I can answer it. If you guys are stumped, let me know though.
Up to you.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So, I mean, the answer is that none of the controls categories require the functions to be enabled out of the box. They can all be enabled, on site during installation. So they just have to have the capability. So daylight harvesting included in that.
Yep, and that's an important note, I think, for the utilities to hear also, right? Is the products can go above and beyond, but make sure that they're actually being commissioned that way in an install, especially if you're looking to actually realize the energy savings that you're forecasting and incentivizing for controls functionality.
Great, and I think that about does it. We're almost out of time. Any questions that we didn't get to, we'll be sure to follow up. So that concludes the Q&A. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, y'all.